Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Russia demands Ukrainian forces lay down arms in Mariupol as shells kill at least one in Kyiv. Russia has called on Ukrainian forces to surrender in the eastern port city of Mariupol, where Moscow said a terrible humanitarian catastrophe was unfolding. Lay down your arms, Colonel General Mikhail Mizintsev, the director of the Russian National Center for Defense Management, said in a briefing distributed by the Defense Ministry. A terrible humanitarian catastrophe has developed, Colonel General Mizintsev said. All who lay down their arms are guaranteed safe passage out of Mariupol. Mariupol has suffered some of the heaviest bombardment since Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24. Many of its 400,000 residents remain trapped in the city with little, if any, food, water and power. City authorities said nearly 10% of the city's population have fled over the past week, risking their lives in convoys. Colonel General Mizintsev said humanitarian corridors for civilians would be opened eastwards and westwards out of Mariupol at 10 a.m., Moscow time, on Monday. However, Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister Iryna Vereshchuk later said an agreement had been reached on creating 8 humanitarian corridors to evacuate civilians from besieged towns and cities on Monday, but the city of Mariupol was not among them. She said efforts to reach Mariupol with humanitarian supplies continued to fail. Ukraine won to surrender. Deputy PM says Ukraine was given until 5 a.m. Moscow time to respond to the offer on humanitarian corridors and laying down arms, he said. Ms. Vereshchuk had already rejected the notion. There can be no talk of any surrender, laying down of arms. We have already informed the Russian side about this, she told the news outlet Ukrainian Pravda. Just open the corridor. Previous bids to allow residents to evacuate Mariupol and other Ukrainian cities have failed, or have been only partially successful, with bombardments continuing as civilians tried to flee. Russia and Ukraine have traded blame for the failure to open such corridors in recent weeks. Colonel General Mizintsev, without providing evidence, said that Ukrainian bandits, neo-Nazis, and nationalists had engaged in mass terror, and gone on a killing spree in the city. Ukraine said it was fighting for its existence, and President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Saturday that the siege of Mariupol was a terror that will be remembered for centuries to come. Read more. Colonel General Mizintsev said Russia was not using heavy weapons in Mariupol. He said Russia had evacuated 59,304 people out of the city, but that 130,000 civilians remained as effective hostages there. He said 330,686 people had been evacuated from Ukraine by Russia since the start of the operation. The Mariupol City Council said on its Telegram channel late on Saturday that several thousand residents had been deported to Russia against their will during the past week. Ukrainian politician Inna Sovsun said those citizens were being taken for forced labor in remote parts of Russia. They being relocated to very distant parts of Russia, where they being forced to sign papers that they will stay in that area for 2 or 3 years and they will work for free in those areas, she said. The statement by the Mariupol authorities also claimed that mobile phones and documents of evacuees have been inspected by Russian troops before sending Mariupol residents to the remote cities in Russia. Ms. Vereshchuk said more than 7,000 people were evacuated from Ukrainian cities through humanitarian corridors on Sunday, more than half of them from Mariupol. She said the government planned to send nearly 50 buses to Mariupol on Monday for further evacuations. Steve McAndrew from the Red Cross said the organization was doing everything it could to reach the people there. The latest we've heard is that there is around 350,000 people kind of trapped in there, he said. My colleagues in the International Committee of the Red Cross are working there with the Ukraine Red Cross. It is very, very difficult for access. It is an intense situation. Read more on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Civilians killed as shells hit homes in Kyiv. Meanwhile, shelling hit residential houses and a shopping center in Kyiv's Podol district late on Sunday, reportedly killing at least 4 people, according to local authorities. Ukraine's prosecutor general said at least 8 people were killed. The Kyiv Department of the State Emergency Service said 4 people had been killed. According to the information we have at the moment, several homes and one of the shopping centers were hit, Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said on his Telegram channel. He said rescue teams were putting out a large fire at the shopping center, while other details were still to be confirmed. Reuters was not able immediately to verify the reports on the ground. Space to play or pause, M to mute.